am older than I used to be, unlike some of you who seem to be growing younger and younger. That's one thing you notice as you grow older. There are fewer of you. Your numbers are shrinking. You are an endangered species, more so the longer you live. You're becoming surrounded by the young with their bad music and their ugly outfits and their absolutely and effortlessly perfect bodies. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what my teacher used to call the dying activity, which is to say, growing old. And I want to talk a little bit about how your spiritual practice just gets better and better and better, which is to say your insights, your meditation, your prayer, your connection to the big picture, your realizations about reality, however you want to define your spiritual practice. I contend that it gets better and better and better the older you get. Now, I had, in my former life as a Zen Buddhist monk, the extreme good fortune of being right there and watching an extremely old man grow even older and then die. I was witness to that process, and he taught me a lot about what he called the dying activity. But also, by continuing to do his job as a Zen Buddhist teacher in those final years preceding his death, and watching this old man bring himself to the task of delivering the Dharma to his students, he taught me a lot about what he used to call the living activity. To wit, the living activity is a process from the instant of your conception to the final pulse of electricity in your brain and your last heartbeat. The whole thing is an activity and a process. And it is something that you show up for, the living activity. Day after day after day, you show up for it. You never fully arrive. You never arrive at your life. You're always doing it, manifesting it, bringing yourself to it. Some of my most poignant memories in those final years of my teacher's life revolve around waking him up in the morning from a very, very deep sleep. And we had to move his body. He couldn't move himself. He was rail thin with very little meat on his bones. And he had sciatica, back issues, knee issues, and he was ancient. Okay, so we had to dress him. We had to help him walk. We had to, wipe down his face, get the eye boogers out of the eyes, right? And slowly he would go from being an ancient being to a Zen master. But it was a process from the moment that he woke up to the moments before Sanzen or koan practice when he would meet with his students, when he was fully dressed in his Roshi robes and he had his staff and the candles were lit and the tulips in the vase were shining and arranged perfectly. And he was looking forward with that Zen master look in his eye. Like, it was a process. And every single day, this old guy had to bring himself to his life. It was never waiting for him, and he could easily slip into it. It took effort and energy and commitment and attention every single morning, and it was an absolutely invaluable lesson to me about how you never arrive in this lifetime. Now, if the living activity is the activity of bringing yourself to every moment, expanding into the world around you, letting inside manifest through your actions and behavior into the outside world, making born your ambitions, your intentions, your feelings, your love, your energy, implanting all that into the world around you, the dying activity is, at the same time, I think, surrendering or letting go. When we're young, I think a lot of what drives us to fully engage in the living activity are things like beliefs, ideals, ideas about how one's life should be and how the world should be, visions for the future, legacy. All of these things are what we in Hollywood, when I used to work there, called MacGuffins. Okay, so a MacGuffin, I think it was a term that Alfred Hitchcock invented. The transit papers in Casablanca are a MacGuffin, or the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark is a MacGuffin. So the MacGuffin is like the thing that the hero wants, that sets him or her or them out on their journey and basically drives the story forward. And a MacGuffin are the things in this metaphor that I'm stretching here that when we are young drive us to participate in life, right? Now, as we get older, we start to see, those MacGuffins begin to fade a little bit. Our youthful idealism begins to wear a little bit thin. The things that we thought we really wanted either slip from our grasp, recede on the horizon, never to be grasped, or we achieve them, we grasp them, and it turns out they're not all they're cracked up to be. For example, we want a wife and kids and a really nice house in a great neighborhood and a great career that brings us respect and money, etc. And then we find in middle age, as we age, that this is not all it's cracked up to be. And the trick, I think, as you age, is to begin to participate in a new kind of activity, not the blind pursuing of every dang MacGuffin our youthful biochemistry hurls to the surface of our swarming brains, right? But to begin to surrender our MacGuffins or our ideals or some of our more youthful, naive, and mature hopes and dreams without giving up on life, right? Surrendering the MacGuffins, letting go of them without becoming bitter and apathetic and an angry old grumpy person. At some point, we have to surrender our expectations. I think that's what I'm trying to say. We have to outgrow our MacGuffins, right? Our ideals, hopes, dreams, and ambitions. And that can be tricky and hard. But I think it's worth it. Because I think what then arises is something, we could call it the wisdom of old age, wherein you can fully participate in life without being attached to ideas or goals, aims, ambitions, outcomes. So that's the trick. It's like participating fully without your expectations. And then I think in ways small and large, a kind of wisdom begins to radiate from you. And that's the wisdom of old age. I just sat for a moment in silence and contemplated how difficult it is to grow old. And I held this feeling inside me of my mother and my father, who are now seniors. And because I'm close to them, I can get a contact feeling for what old age is. And I must confess, I oftentimes feel a kind of sympathetic sadness. You know, I can feel how they look out upon their family and wonder where all the time went. And there's both pride and happiness in this beautiful spread before them of these untold numbers of grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And there's also a sadness that their own lives are coming to an end. And with that end comes an natural conclusion to their own expectations in terms of what life can bring them. And in some sense, I think of this final stage of life as like that moment when the flower blooms fully. It's the full bloom, are those old moments when you're old. And the flower has bloomed fully. And life is radiating through you, through your roots, which was your youth, and your strong stem, which was your middle age. And now the bud has bloomed, and that old age is like the flower opening. And the flower of old age is wisdom. And one key element of, or definition of wisdom for me is participating fully, still, in life, but without any attachment to an idea or belief about how your actions should manifest certain things. It's just doing things for their own sake. Eating, talking, participating, living. The dying activity is, you could say, returning to our source and letting it radiate through us, within us, in us, and as us, instead of trying to do everything ourselves. Because we're old, we can't do it ourselves anymore. And we probably never could. We were just so filled with youthful hormones and energy and testosterone and estrogen and all the other stuff that we just got propelled forward. My contention here today, my offering is, as you get older, baby, you gotta learn how to die. Okay? If you don't learn how to die, your skin is gonna sag along with your spirit and your energy. And your heart's gonna grow tired, and your mind is gonna grow weak and forgetful. If you don't learn how to die fully, you carry this big, fat bag filled with your past, filled with the dying rats of your expectations and hopes and dreams, like a bag of living things that you're carrying around that are dying, and you begin to smell of those living things and you begin to grow tired. But as you grow old, if you can let go of your ideas, let go of your notions of how the world should be, who should have been elected president and why, of what the future should be as opposed to what it's becoming, as of letting go of your expectations of what your life should have been as opposed to what it is. If you can let go of all of that, surrender it, just surrender it, die into the present moment, as my teacher used to say, die into the activity of the present moment fully. If you can do that, then you achieve or gain that you become your own Roshi. You become your own Zen master. Roshi just is simply a term that means venerable old person. Okay, that's what the term Roshi, which is a Rinzai Zen master, means. It's like an honorific given to an old person who deserves your respect, right? In my teacher, there is an energy that comes with a wise old person, and you can feel it radiating off of them. Not every older person has this, and even the wisest among us don't have this all the time. But I have seen it in my teacher, and I have seen it in some other people. They are standing solid like a mountain, immovable, with eyes on the back of their head. They've been to the puppet show, and they've seen the strings, right? And they've cut the strings. They don't have these attachments anymore. And they bring the energy that used to go into hoping, dreaming, wishing, trying, now goes into being present with those in front of them and with the life they are in. And it's a beautiful thing to see and watch. And it stills the jabbering lips of the young in their presence, and it opens their ears because you want to hear what these old wise people have to say. I believe in old age. I've seen the fruits of a life lived well with sincerity and intention and a spiritual practice. I've seen those fruits blossoming in their fullest expression in old age. And you look at these older people, Zen masters in my case, I'm thinking of a few now that I know of, and you're almost as attracted to them as you are to a little baby, which in its own way is manifesting this beautiful, clean, free, clear energy. In sum, here we are, doing the living activity and doing the dying activity, moment after moment after moment, bringing ourselves fully to the moment and everything good and bad and crazy and interesting and wild and dangerous and calm and shameful and beautiful, ignoble, etc. within that moment, bringing all of ourselves fully to it and then dying into it, letting all of it go, letting all of the energy and the intensity and the wants and the fears, the desires and the antipathy, letting it all go, dying into it. And then the Tathagata Zen that I was taught teaches that you're reborn in the moment after. Bringing yourself fully to the moment, dying fully into the moment, moment after moment. And I think that as we age, we have a unique opportunity to manifest the death activity. Because we've lived a long time. We begin to see how our character has changed over the years. And our life circumstances have changed, and society has changed, and everything keeps changing. And we're less attached to the world around us by sheer virtue of the fact that we've lived long enough to see that that world keeps changing, and the things that we're attached to keep changing and becoming something else, dying, disappearing, fading into the memory. It takes great courage, I think, to age gracefully into the kind of person who feels like they've earned their place as an elder statesperson on this planet. A fully blooming flower of the human race. So embrace the dying activity. Listen, if you want to support this channel, go to patreon.com/showsonjackhobner, and it's a great way to support the work that I'm doing here. More and more, I am becoming, how to put it, I don't know. There's a big tree in front of me, my girlfriend's apartment here, and I feel like the patreon.com, it's like fruit on the street. It's like a new branch filled with fruit, which is to say I'm relying on patreon.com more and more to pay for my bills. So I thank you very much for supporting this channel in that way. And you can do so here, patreon.com/showsonjackhobner. There's also an opportunity to help this channel by donating to it through PayPal, and there's a link in the video description below. But folks, I offer these videos, just throw them out there, and you don't have to support this through money if you don't want to. You can also hit like, subscribe, and the notifications button. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to. I am surrendering my expectations of financial well-being, and I am dying into the moment of fiscal uncertainty. But I do appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Ciao. There are things about growing older that you just don't think about when you're young. Like, when I was young, I used to think about how I was going to travel to Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, you name it. I was going to go there. These days, I don't think about going anywhere without considering my proximity to a bathroom, because I'm old now, and there is something called BHP, benign hypostatic prostate, wherein as one ages, one's prostate grows a little bit bigger, presses against the bladder, and makes urination a bit of an issue. This is on the male side of things. On the female side of things, well, I have noticed that at a certain point, all of the women in your life start turning off all of the heating everywhere because they are all going through perimenopause together. They all become like these raging furnaces of middle-aged goddess energy, and these women are ready to go.